Hello, hello! Hi everybody, thank you for tuning in this morning and welcome to Blocktober 2020. I think the last time we did this was 2018, it was a physical meetup, but today we're back online for Blocktober 2! Yes, we have something special for you this morning. I don't think we've done anything like this before at the Blockdown party. This is going to be a Turn of the Worm panel, and we have some expert guests. I am going to go through a bit of the history of our favourite worm that got sick but later recovered, and I'm sure you'll enjoy it quite a lot. We're going to go through some pages in the history of Turner, grabbed straight from Teletext, recovered from Teletext, thanks to the VHS recoverers. And indeed, we have the first edition of Turn of the Worm we're going to look at, and all sorts of cool stuff. But first, I think we should introduce my co-host, who is the normal Teletext R co-host. You probably know him already. He's your friend and mine, Mr. Carlos Teletext R. Hello, Carlos, Teletext R.
Good morning to you this Saturday morning. Feels a bit like going live, doesn't it? And welcome to this special tier 2.5 level Teletext R podcast, where we will be perusing the Turn of the Worm's sickly exploits. Hello to everybody in the chat, and it's very nice to be joining everyone today. And thanks very much to Alistair and David for stitching all this together. Their anxiety levels are nice and low. Everything's gone to plan. Everything's all cool, all good in the hood, as they say. So I just wanted to put out a few ground rules today. If we move up to tier 3 today, I'm afraid that we'll all have to watch this transmission with our feet off the ground and our fingers crossed. If we drop down to level 2, then we're able to go out and hug the closest person to us. But at the moment we are at tier 2.5. I do believe some other teletext services around the world are launching their own tiers, which will be roughly very dissimilar to ours. Back to you, Dan.
Roughly dissimilar. Oh, that was brilliant, Carl. But level 2.5, tier 2.5, does that involve oranges? Can we go out and buy oranges from the shops?
Well, it does, but at the moment we are at a Teletext R level above 1, so you can only buy one orange providing it's magenta.
A magenta orange. It's like a special mystery prize, isn't it? For a particular art competition. But we're not going to talk about that just now, because we do have with us here Mr. Alistair Cree, also known as Alistair Cray.
By you, sir.
The Crays!
The Crays, yeah.
He's going to come round and smash your sixels in!
Yes, the boxing expert, and also teletext recovery expert, Mr. Alistair Cree.
Hello,
Alistair. We're so glad to have you here because you've recovered quite a few Turn of the Worm frames over the years, haven't you?
Well, I must say, technically I've hardly recovered any myself. Most of the turners that I've got have been sent in by other recoverers, such as Tom in the chat there, who's sent in a great many of them, in fact.
Hi, Tom.
But what I've been doing is taking the recoveries that they've created from VHS tapes and going through restoring every single page of the Turner strips to be accurate to how they were broadcast, basically so that they match the checksums that were broadcast alongside the pages.
So you're sort of Turn of the Worm quality control.
Well, yes, they're sending in the raw recoveries complete with all the errors that you expect from a VHS recovery. And I'm going through fixing up the pages, correcting all the mistakes in the images and so on.
A noble task indeed. And we're going to hear more from Alistair as we go through the panel tonight. We do have David as well, who might want to chip in with the odd comment as we go along, especially with the later parts where Turner gets sick. I don't know if you guys knew that Turner the Worm got sick at some point. But there you go.
Oh, are we allowed to do this? Don't we have to
Do
wait
what?
14 days?
Are we in isolation?
Yeah, if he's ill at the moment, we can't really do this, can we?
Well, he got better.
I don't think the way Turner's sick is one of the symptoms.
I think they sent the test
that's
away
okay.
in the early 2000s, and we still haven't received the results back. So until we actually know, I guess we're okay. He certainly didn't lose his sense of taste.
No.
Although questions about this podcast's sense of taste.
Absolutely. So, we've all heard about Turner the Worm and his well-publicised illness. But the rest of his story is sadly often forgotten, buried under a mound of dirty controversy and heated debates over whether worms can vomit milk. Turner the Worm was a comic strip created by Paul Rose, aka Mr. Biffo, who you may know from the popular television show Biffovision. Turner's weekly adventures began shortly after Teletext Limited took control of the text services on ITV and Channel 4 on the 1st of January 1993. And courtesy Alistair, who we were just speaking with, we have Turner's origin story right here for you. Now, maybe not a lot of people have seen this because this was broadcast a long time ago on the 3rd of January 1993, mere days after the launch of Teletext. And we can see Turner the Worm on the right there in his original worm form, without arms. And in this debut comic, Glug seems somewhat perturbed by the black pudding that Turner has found in a field somewhere. Are we going to read this out? Should we read it? That would be fun, wouldn't it? Would you like to do that?
Yes.
So, do you want to... Who wants to be Turner and who wants to be Glug? Should I be Glug?
Whoever sounds most like Terry Wogan, probably. That's the voice we need.
Hello, that's a shame. And good morning, how are you all? I'm Terry Wogan, and welcome to Turner the Worm. I'm not going to do that voice. The Saga of Turner the Worm by Paul Rose.
I prefer Nintendo.
Turner and his best friend Glug, the slug, are enjoying breakfast, unaware that an encounter with some smelly goo will soon elevate them to the status of superstars. Well, nearly.
Chapter 1. Goo, you are awful.
Turner, where did you get this black pudding? It tastes foul.
I found it near a fence in the field.
A fence? You served me a black pudding that you found near a fence? I would like to see this odd pudding supplier barrier.
This is where I found the pudding, Glug me old china. I can't see anything. Let's have a look under the fence. No puddings here, only an old pipe. What's that stuff coming out of it?
Be careful, Turner. Whatever it is, it smells a bit funny.
Next slide, please.
Turner, mind the smelly stuff. Ooh, it feels all funny.
Crikey, Turner. That's a bit smart. You've grown some arms.
Bloomin' heck, look at me. This feels great. Imagine all the arm-related pranks we can get up to with these appendages. Continued Monday.
Dun dun dun.
Dun 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 dun.
Get to the fence end.
So, that is the origin story of Turner the Worm. And actually, the first time I saw that was this week while I was researching for this, because I don't think I saw it at the time when it was broadcast. So, much like the Teenage Mutant Ninja / Hero Turtles, Turner became a superworm, worthy of his own comic on Teletext. Longtime fans of Turner the Worm might note something here graphically. Turner's eyes are separated. In time, as we go along our little presentation and we advance through time, you'll see that each eye will become joined together as two dots on a white background. In fact, that is illustrated in our next slide that we have here, and we can compare that original version of Turner's eyes to Turner and Glug's later, more familiar portraits with Cyclops-like eyes. Now, it has been said this eye drawing style was derived from Sonic the Hedgehog. Dr. Robotnik had a similar sort of eye design, didn't he? Mr. Biffo has mentioned that himself. We have a quote later on. So these character bios are courtesy Jason Robertson, the Teletext archaeologist, and are taken from 2005, presumably reprinted from a much earlier date, when Mr. Biffo was still working at and drawing new comics for Teletext. We have some more character profiles here from the early days. Do you remember Kylie Leach? Or how Automatic's appearance used to change slightly from comic to comic? Note his eyes again there. Guys, do you remember these characters? I don't remember Kylie Leach at all. Carl?
No, I don't remember him. I'm still trying to think about the teenage neutered Ninja Turtles. Yeah, I can't. No, I don't. And it's interesting what you say about the eyes as well. Yeah, he sort of like looks more like a Zen ninja with a white face, rather than the cartoony cutesy eyes in the first ones. I reckon for speed, it was probably easier to do the compound eye rather than the separated ones. But I think you'd agree that he looks cuter in his first incarnation. He looks a little bit more of a geezer later on.
I think it's a case of scale and detail as well. That in the early comics, Turner and Glug, quite large drawings to fit the eyes in. But later on, when they went to the single eyes, you can squeeze that into a smaller space. So there's more range of, some giant portraits and some very small.
I agree with that, Alistair. Yeah, I agree with that, Alistair, because I think it's also familiarity as the reader gets to know what they actually look like. It becomes more symbolic, so you can get more information in and scale the characters down. You see that a lot in comics anyway, don't you? When you look at the first comic characters, like Beano ones and things like that, and how they come forward, you can see that mutation or that evolution in most comics anyway. So yeah, same things happened on Teletext.
Yes, absolutely. 100% agreed. As the comics became more ornate, and I guess introduced more characters and they had to fit more detail onto single pages, scaling down was necessary. Because if we go back to the last slide, you can see there that very little limited space has been used for the eyes to get the same sort of effect. And I think that works better with Teletext. I guess that's something that Biffo learned as he went along, or I guess, yeah, like you say, evolved the design of Messrs. Turner and Glug.
Next slide, please.
Next. According to Mr. Biffo, the Turner comic took him about an hour a week to make, so not that long at all. And he posted a new chapter every Monday morning. Chapters could range from 5 to 12 subpages, possibly even more. So that's each week. He might post 5 to 12 subpages each week. At the Digitizer block party in 2016, I asked Biffo if he planned out the comics in advance, but he said that he basically just made the whole thing up as he went along. But there's nothing wrong with that. Here's a quote from Biffo himself. When I was employed at Teletext as a graphic designer, I needed Digitizer and Turner the Worm on the side to stop me from getting bored. So yeah, he would spend about an hour in the morning doing that, and a few other things as well, actually. Get everything done by about 11 AM, and then just sit around in the office and mess about. Bug everybody else who had to work a lot more. Go on, sorry?
Or sneak off through the fire escape to play arcade games, allegedly.
I mean, I bet that was great for everybody else because they could just get on with the work and they didn't have to put up with Biffo hitting a cardboard box with a tennis racket every 5 minutes.
Tom asks an interesting question in the Twitch chat. What is the corruption at the top of the M in Turn of the Worm? And the answer is that is the page sub-page numbers. If you look at the Breakfast of Doom title page, you can see it says 1 of 6, and it's got a white text control code at the beginning. The other ones, it's just the same. They've got the page number. I think the first two look like 1 of 7, and the flower arrangers looks like 1 of 6 to me. But there's no white text control code, so that's why it just looks like the graphics are messed up. I asked Biffo, and he said the system that Teletext used inserted those automatically, which is okay on a text page, but with graphics codes already on, if he didn't remember to put a text control code there, it would just be scrambled once it was inserted.
That's
it occasionally happened on digitizer pages as well, where he was doing a large full screen graphic and forgot about it.
That's interesting, because I did wonder what that was, but I think I fooled myself into thinking that it's a little worm poking his head up out of the M. If you look at the Mighty Morphing flower arrangers there, that looks like Glug's head, or maybe a worm with antennae.
Yeah.
Antennae.
You'll see it on some of the other pages. Quite often it pops up in the corner there that there's some corruption. Other times he remembers to put the control codes, and at certain times there's no number there. It's been filled with spaces or something. So the system changed over the years, but that's the reason for it. It was an automatic system to put the sub-page numbers in.
It's like a watermark.
Yeah. It's basically to stop other people copying Turn of the Worm and putting them on their own teletext service, like a trap street or something like that on a map.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, like a decoy pond.
Do you have anything to say about these pages here, Carl?
Yeah, apart from the fact that they're absolutely brilliant, very busy and very well designed. They're really good. I didn't see a lot of these the first time round because I was quite late to Teletext on my television. If you get all the backstories from the other podcasts, but yeah, they're really good, and the amount of getting the graphics to sing and dance as they do, the encoding for the page numbers is quite interesting, because when you do see it from a distance, it looks like an alien bursting out the middle tine of the M. It looks like an alien popping out of John Hurt's stomach. But yeah, and I'll Turn of the Worm in Alan. Maybe that's what made me think about that straight away. But yeah, no, they're really good, and again, well done to the Teletext archaeologists, because we're seeing these again. So yeah, hats off to the boffins.
Boffins, yes. I love that word. It's fantastic. Hey, we're all boffins here on Teletext R. So a little bit more about the start, the origins of Turn of the Worm now. And Turner does have his origin in a purple worm character that Biffo conceived during his time making graphics for Ladbrokes, who he worked for before Teletext Limited. And this worm character would appear in animations, popping out of golf holes or snooker table pockets. According to Biffo, he became sufficiently popular that, when he didn't appear in our displays, store staff would ring up asking where he was. And there's a picture of him, a very rare picture, of the proto Turn of the Worm. Oh, he's got alcohol there. I don't think you can have alcohol on Teletext, can you? Ooh.
It's fizzy pop.
Oh
really
yeah,
fizzy
of course.
pop.
Yeah, obviously. So he's dreaming that he owns a top hat.
It's quite humorous, isn't it? How the first thing you want to do when you become a millionaire is to put a hat on.
Because his head's cold, he's a worm. He doesn't have such luxuries.
I'll show him. I'll go back to my old school with a hat on. They won't laugh at me then when I've got a top hat on.
Go back to worm school. The worm reunion.
You'll amount to nothing in life, Turner. You haven't got a hat.
Well, there
or
you go.
bags of money. Very good. I like the use of the pink and all that. So maybe if 2.5 teletext was a thing right at the inception of the teletext services, maybe we'd be looking at a pink Turner,
Yeah.
which would be a bit of a shocker, really, because yeah, when you get to the end of the story, if if he was sick and he was pink, then I don't think it would have made it onto a broadcast teletext service regulated by Ofcom.
Well, somebody could remake that page, or recover it, I guess, and change Turner's colour to pink in level 2.5.
There's a challenge, Alistair Cray.
Hey, Alistair Cray, yeah.
I'm going to pink him up.
I'll pick him up.
Just-
See?
I've just seen some Jet Set Willy parallels here. You remember how the plot went after the first game? Well, they got out of the mines of all the money, hence Jet Set Willy. With
Oh,
the famous
yeah.
cover of him being sick in the toilet as well, so
Really?
bit of a connection there, I think.
Maybe that's what it is. Maybe there's he's doffed his cap to Mr. Smith.
A similar obsession with toilets as well to Mr. Biffo.
Toilet humour.
The prototypical, archetypal toilet humour, I guess.
The prototypical Proto-Turner Teenage Neutered Ninja Turtles. Heads.
Teenage Mutant Ninja... Neutered Ninja Turner.
Injured Turtles.
Injured Turtles.
Can we have a competition thread on Injured Turtles?
Oh, we can't do that. We could have people nursing them back to life. Or making
So that'd be-
turtle soup.
Nurse turtles. Turtle nurses. Injured turtle nurses.
We're going into some strange territory here now, Carl.
Come
so
on, get
I
to the
think-
fern scene. Get to the fern scene. Come on, get back in the room.
Back to the what? The fan saying.
Get to the fern scene.
Oh dear.
Is that German for television?
I believe so.
Fan saying. Right,
Fan
so
saying,
we're
right,
moving
yeah.
on. Initially, the Teletext Kids section mascot was going to be an amorphous blob named Reskull. But then Biffo remembered his worm character and began fleshing him out with a name, a backstory, and an arch enemy. Here's a quote from Biffo. Unexpectedly, I came up with a superlative pun of a name, Turner the Worm. A backstory inspired by the Ninja Turtles, the injured turtles, and a pair of eyes and an arch enemy ripped off from Dr. Robotnik. Automatic. And he is just on the right with his glasses fogged up. Actually, I should point out that isn't Automatic, it's just somebody that looks like him, but it's a very good depiction of him, and I've decided to use that for this presentation. Just for the sticklers out there, in the actual story, it's not actually Automatic, it's an imposter. Ah. And you can see on the left...
Or...
Yeah, semi-automatic, hey!
Ah, very good.
You can see on the left in this frame that I've dug up that Turner actually does look like a worm there. He looks like the amorphous blob that I mentioned.
Mm.
And actually he's bleeding, so I didn't realise how gory that frame was. Look at that, he's literally splatting into the ground.
That's a lovely
Yeah,
red. He looks like a pink Geiger.
Getting a bit
Yes.
of a
Yeah,
Danny,
he does.
Danny Taurus feel from this one.
Oh, exactly, yeah. How did they get away with that, eh? How did they get away with anything on teletext? Biffo!
I wonder when they're looking over his shoulder when he's coding that up in the office. They're going, "What on earth are you doing?"
It
As
would
he
be
starts
fun.
at the top line.
It would be funny,
I think
actually.
they just kept their distance as much as possible.
I'm just looking at the end of whatever end that is of Turner, but yeah, when you look at the end of that, that looks like the pride of any science textbook.
Teletext Limited, providing teletext textbooks for kids. Superb. Superb. It's a wonderful frame, that. I love it. And the guy on the left as well just really completes the whole thing. Okay, I've had enough of looking at that. So, a little bit more about Mr. Biffo's graphic art style now. It's partially inspired by Bob Wakelin, the late and legendary cover art designer. According to Biffo, Those thick black lines around the characters in Turn of the Worm were no accident. So, in terms of the history of teletext design, perhaps this much-loved and imitated style can actually be attributed to Mr. Biffo himself. We're going to continue to do more research into that, but certainly we can say that Biffo popularized this type of halo design, as I call it. And we have a quote from the teletext boss Graham Lovelace here. In 2014, he said that the best teletext artist ever was Paul Rose. Absolute genius with the pixels. Turn of the Worm was his finest creation. High praise indeed from the guy who was Biffo's boss at the time. High praise indeed. So here we have a couple of frames from Turner that I've dug up to try and illustrate this style, which you can see there. You can see around the characters, it seems as if it's a perfectly cut halo. A couple of fantastically ornate, well, a particularly ornate frame on the right there.
We're allowed to spot recovery errors at the moment.
Oh, did you see one?
Well, I'm molting, that could be a Mr. Biffo Turner phrase. But concludes next with, I think there's something up there.
Yes, I'm molting. Just like malt loaf. Yeah, he's fading into the malt loaf.
Oh dear. I just
That's a
remembered
good page. That's lovely.
something else malt loaf is used for.
That will
Oh.
be
I
a
don't
recovery
think
error
Nicky's on
because
today,
next
so.
week is scrambled as well.
Oh yeah. Concludes next apostrophe at ek.
That it's a JPEG
Well,
that Dan's found on the internet somewhere.
The
Anything
text.
I've provided for the slideshow will have no recovery errors, obviously.
Can you guys see a face there actually in the salt? His nose is just over his shoulder there, and his mouth is near his torso. It looks like a face. That's
Oh,
cool.
yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
know if
that's-
that was intended.
Yeah, a nose with a couple of eyes and a
I can
mouth.
see something in the
just
yellow.
Oh yeah,
It's
he's
a
just put some
smile there.
faces. I think that was deliberate. He must have done that.
It's a bit like a monochrome Mr. Blobby facing to the right in the white part.
It's like a cloud out of a Nintendo game.
Yeah, or a tree. Looks a bit like the tree from Nightmare, Oakley. So, we have a bit more on the graphic style. In researching Turner for this presentation, I've been reminded just how absolutely and utterly amazing the artwork was. It was definitely worth waiting a week to see more graphic design from the hallowed Mr. Biffo. And over time, our artist used a wide range of techniques, from effective use of the limited color palette to increasingly decorative landscapes and action panels, which we have here. If you can spot the references, you get a free copy of Worms for Teletext by Steve Horsley. So guys, do we have any comments about Mr. Biffo's graphical style?
Yeah, drawing in perspective is really tricky at that resolution, so well done on the gun there.
Do you think he had a reference picture?
Might have had a reference frame in mind. Don't know if he'd have one by the computer though. Did he have a photographic memory, like Steve?
You'd need one, really, for something like that. Definitely.
Well, the image on the right is taken from the Worms video game, I believe. Unfortunately, I don't have a picture of that. I should have put that up, shouldn't I? But I'm not here to expose Turner. Expose Biffo, rather. As a dirty cheater, a copier. It's a wonderful artwork in itself, but let's say it's inspired by Worms, and leave it
Oh,
at
yes,
that.
yes. Yeah, I
Given
think
how
inspired by rather
inspired most of the stories are and the character names and so on, it's very reference heavy, Turner.
The character on my left wearing the Glug, prepare to fill sword of Glug, Lord of the Slime Swamps. That knife and the pose reminds me of a young John Matrix in Commando.
Ah, it could be.
John, when I heard it was you, I said I'd do it for nothing, John. That's Matey out of the Commando film.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Did he have a British accent?
No.
Hmm.
No, he didn't.
No.
No.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry,
I think
Carla.
he was Australian.
He was, wasn't he? Yeah.
John, when I heard it was you, John, I said I'd do it for nothing. Good day,
I hear
mate.
it was you,
Crikey.
John. Mate. Oh,
Crikey,
mate.
mate.
What's
Crikey,
going on
John
here, mate?
Matrix. I had to fake my own death,
John
mate,
Matrix.
to get you.
Yes.
All right, Cropper.
Oh, crumbs. And there goes the kids' rating that we had on this with the casual racism. Right, so why do we think that Biffo chose a worm and a slug as his featured characters? Do you think it's because they're roughly amorphous blobs that can be easily sculpted and depicted in teletext low resolution?
Yes.
Mostly that.
Yep. I've just answered my own question, haven't I? Basically. That was a poorly written question.
Well, no, because at the end of the day, he looks. If you weren't told he was a worm, you would argue he was a snake with that colour. It looked like Ovid video or something like that. You know, it's suggestive, isn't it?
Yeah.
Once you say it's that, then it is that. So yeah.
It doesn't help that if you miss the very first episode, then you've no idea why a worm would have arms. As indeed you all had not seen it before, so
Yes. And
Probably
now, but
gone.
now you can't unsee it. Now you know he's a worm.
30 years wondering why he had arms.
There we go.
20
Well, I
years.
did, Alistair. I never knew that he was coated in nuclear waste, and that's what made him grow the arms until I was researching this. I just assumed that he was a worm character that had arms. I didn't know there was a backstory.
And speak, obviously.
Yeah, well,
they can also,
in
all the animals
cartoons,
can speak.
A talking worm. It's a bit far-fetched.
well, in all cartoons, we sort of have talking animals and things. Well, in a lot of cartoons, don't we? So you just take it for granted that, oh, well, there's a worm and a slug, and they can talk, and they have arms.
The strange thing is that the human characters are all the same size as the animal characters.
Maybe they're just further away, Alistair.
Could be.
Small, far away. Small, far
Now,
away.
Dougal.
Okay, what do we have next? In November 1994, readers were invited to vote for their favourite Turner stories to be repeated over Christmas of that year. And to fit them in, the strips were updated, I think, daily, or at least every other day, rather than weekly. So, Alistair, I don't know if we know much about this, but do we know which of these comics won the vote?
I'm just looking now. I don't know that I know for 94.
So these stories were the ones that had already been broadcast up until this point. So it would have been approximately 2 years that Town of the Worm was on the air, and people were invited to vote for their favourite ones. I wonder how many people actually did tune in each week to read it. There must have been quite a few religious viewers.
I certainly
So-
tuned in every week.
Oh yeah.
Friends of mine were. I remember sort of like going back when you could go home for lunch. I lived too far away, so I used to go around with my friends. He used to put the digitizer on and watch it every day. So it was built into the framework of people's daily lives, definitely.
And the good thing about that, I would suppose, is, unlike when you're reading a book with someone else, you have to wait for them to turn the page. But with teletext, you have an equal amount of time each to read the page before it changes itself. So you have to both be good at speed reading.
Yes, but did you ever when you loaded up, say Turner, the new week's Turner, it was in the middle of the
First.
in the middle of the pages, and you didn't want to see the
carousel.
end before you saw the beginnings because it would spoil it. So you had to sort of squint and just try to just see the corner of the screen with the number and wait till it came round to 1 before you would actually open your eyes properly and read the whole television page.
Yeah,
That
the
just me, was
spoiler
it?
mask. No, the spoiler mask. You'd have to get a sheet of cardboard and the size of the TV screen and just cut the corner out for the page number, hold it up to the screen, and then when it gets to 1 of 7, Just remove the cardboard and enjoy the show.
Knowing then what I know now, I'd have used the Timetext button to call up subpage 1 and hide the screen. But that was the years before I used to sit religiously reading television instruction manuals.
Who exactly would have known to do that as a kid? I mean, I only found out that you could do that from the internet many years later on certain TVs.
Well, it died out. They started taking that function away in TVs as well as it got later on.
Well, because
by the 90s they'd stopped using it entirely.
That's because the local branches of DER and Radio Rentals were getting calls from very puzzled people. They were pressing it and they just had like TT up in the corner with the colons and all that in there to input the fields. So they've probably just done away with that function completely. But
well, and it's extra button on the remote, isn't it? That
exactly.
CFAX had stopped using in the 70s or early 80s.
Scales of economy, and imagine if all the great art, all the great literature works would start in the middle. when you opened them, your works of Shakespeare would be halfway through Macbeth on page 1.
Yeah, imagine if they published
It'd be
long
like a Quentin
stories.
Tarantino film, surely. Maybe that's where old QT got his inspiration for Pulp Fiction from.
Could be.
Like I say, Dan, I don't know about that particular voting thing because I've not got the run up to Christmas, not got recoveries for that. But in '95, they must have done the same thing because Star Trek, The Next Service Station, which is one of the stories, that was reused over Christmas. At least an episode a day, it seems like.
I wonder if they did that every year or just those 2 years.
Well, Star Trek's the only one that I've seen from Christmas '95.
Okay. Star Trek is a particularly good comic from the bits that I've seen.
It is. Annoyingly, we're one page away from that being complete.
Okay.
On subpage, can't quite get the errors squished out of it. But
right.
Very, very close, and it's a good story, that one.
Cool. So we might be able to see that soon. So, continuing on the theme of viewer-submitted content, here's a capture from May 1994. During a period when kids could write to Turner about all manner of things. We know, however, that this section was stopped in about February or March 1995, when some of the correspondence became a little bit too, shall we say, emotional for a light-hearted teletext service.
Did they own Amigas?
Oh, probably. The golden Amiga. They wrote to say, "My Amiga is golden."
I've got girlfriends.
So yeah, this page actually changed in design. I think this is the first page.
I think that's the second version.
Oh,
the
is
green
it?
One.
Right.
Yeah.
There were a couple of designs of that. Turner changed a little bit. There's also one where Turner has a hat, a Christmas hat for Christmas. If you want to hear that story from Mr. Biffo about the slightly too emotional letter, you can hear that here in the Teletext R archives. If you look for the panel, Teletext Designers panel at Block Party 2016 with Mr. Biffo and Steve Horsley, Biffo does tell that story if you want to go and look that up. And indeed, I just recommend all of those old podcasts and panels that we've done at the previous block parties.
We used to have a Turn of the Worm, wasn't really a fan club, but we used to send out signed pictures of Turn of the Worm, most of which were signed by a guy called Adam Keeble, who did our chips and teats on Digi. And it was just a photocopied piece of paper with a picture of Turner that I'd drawn. And I stopped doing that when some kid wrote in asking, "Dear Turner, please can you fix it for me, for my parents not to split up." And it was so awful that I stopped offering that service. Did he help? He made it worse. Yeah, so there was that request for Turner to intervene in some child's parental breakup.
Was Turner going to be the new presenter of the angst section then? Dear Turner. And yes, that slide was just a it was just a big promo for our old stuff. But moving on.
Well, does anyone have a signed picture though?
Well, yes, actually, we can go on to that now.
Oh,
Here it is. Here is a Turner poster that was mailed in to a reader in return for them sending a story idea. I assume that was hand-drawn by Mr. Biffo himself.
yeah, that's his style. Bit of the man with a long chin in there.
Yeah, he looks a bit like Popeye, I think.
The glug glug, the slug slug. Glug 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 glug.
Oh, yeah. That's great, actually, yeah.
You could put a pipe in his mouth, yeah.
Photoshop, yeah. Photoshop a pipe into it.
Me spinach.
Yeah, I've got me white spinach that I throw up against the wall. He's got. Oh, yeah. Have you just noticed he's got one eye?
Oh, yeah, of course. It's what. So Biffo says of this picture, sorry to break it to you, but it was actually Digitizer's very own Mr. Cheese that sent out the Turner pictures and signed them on the worm's behalf. Oh. He had his own agent, basically, to sign stuff and send them away. So it's kind of understandable, because Turner had a very busy life back in the 90s. So did any of you guys out there in Discord, or in the chat with me today, ever write off to Turner, or I guess anything on Teletext? We'd love to know about that. So stick that in the chat and we'll talk about it later. But now, a game of Spot the Difference. Here we have precisely the same artwork, right down to the size of the speech bubbles, with different dialogue, featured in 2 different editions of Turner. Now, Alistair was the person that found these. He restored them.
One of those
So,
is my
Alice-
recovery, actually. The second one is off one of my
okay.
tapes.
Hanna-Barbera syndrome, isn't it? When they're running down the corridor in Scooby-Doo, they reuse the footage.
Well, I think that's thoroughly understandable, considering all the scenes that Biffo would have to do. Would anybody remember that was used in a previous edition? So let's have a look.
Have you got the next page of each of those stories done?
Sadly not.
You've not got those in your presentation because when it was reused, it was a nod to it because it was the second page had a reference to the previous story. Off the top of my head, I think they look out the window and Goldblum says, "Look, Turner, a giant yellow triangle," and Turner says, "That's a pyramid, fool." And then when it's used again in '97. They look out the window of the plane and Goldblum says, look, Turner, a pyramid. And Turner says, "That's a mountain, fool." So it's clearly a reference to the previous one. And again, the background is all different, but the aeroplane and the bird in the sky and so on are the same, copy and paste of the previous page version.
Well, can I ask a technical question there?
You can.
I thought that Teletext, I didn't know if it was actually saved. I thought it was created more or less live every day. The old page is overwritten.
I think for the editorial stuff was disposed of quite quickly, but Biff obviously kept the Turners saved in the computer system to be able to rerun the stories at Christmas and so on. So they were obviously
so there was
backed
a fair bit of storage space for that then.
Or he could write them at the same time.
I think Biffo would write stuff as he went along, so I doubt 2 stories would have been written simultaneously. We'll have to ask him about that, actually. Maybe he did stockpile Turners, if that's what you mean.
Stuff was obviously stocked. The old stories were obviously kept for them to be able to rerun them. And after in the later years when he was there, they were all repeats. You've probably got the date somewhere from the other day. But
yeah.
Towards the end of when Paul was working at Teletext, he was reusing the stories, and after he left, they carried on rerunning his old stories for a while until '05.
Yeah, we've got a little bit more about that in my presentation later on. But for now, we can say that Turner had many crossovers with other famous, well, and infamous teletext sections. And this appearance on Bamboozle was interesting enough for somebody to take a photo of it, with an old Kodak camera and everything. Now, sorry we don't have a fantastic high-resolution recovery of this, but we can just see that Bamba has gone missing, and Turner has turned up at the wrong place, late for work. Hello, Bamba! Anyone know how to get to the kids section? I'm lost and late for work! So I don't know if Bamba actually presented the show, or if it was Turner who presented Bamboozle that particular time.
Hopefully it'll turn up off a tape at some point.
Yeah.
Did we decide that was
so.
from 05 sometime?
Yeah, I think so.
Based on the page
It's
number.
Page 140, yeah.
Yes,
the
and
funny
the
games
mobile play on your mobile competition helps to date it a bit as well.
Oh, yeah. Later on, I think. So maybe it was a time when Biffo wasn't working for Teletext, and they just found this picture and decided to reuse it. I think that's likely the case. Okay, back to the Turner comic itself. It was filled to the brim with references and cameos from popular culture, and even those crossovers that we mentioned with Teletext characters. Here we have, as well as the Worminator, can you guess what that is? We have appearances from Bambaboozler and the lesser spotted Turner the Screw, or somebody who looks an awful lot like him. So, we have a very interesting appearance of Bambaboozler here. He says, well, Turner asks, "You're not Santa." "No, I'm Bambaboozler. I dropped my corn cobs in the barrel and fell in as I attempted to retrieve them. The explosion revealed a trapdoor through which I escaped." And that was in one of the Christmas stories, 1993. Do we know the name of that, Alistair, just off the top of our heads?
Not off the top of our heads, but if you keep talking for a few seconds while the page loads, that was A Christmas Barrel.
Right.
Barrel. So Bamba likes eating corn cobs.
Yeah, that's some character development we have there.
And
Actually,
also has a body and legs.
Yeah, he doesn't usually appear in his full body, does he? Although he did appear, I think, in about 93 or 94 on the actual Bamboozle section to advertise a Bamboozle t-shirt. Is that correct? So you can see the whole of his upper body. He's certainly
with a Charlie Brown sweater.
Yes.
I mean, we see his chest and folded arms on the congratulations, look at your score page on Bamboozle, from the elbows down.
If you search for Bambaboozler on the internet, one of the funny things that comes up is a drawing that somebody has done in Microsoft Paint completing Bambaboozler. So the top half is a capture of him from the actual teletext. And then somebody has drawn his arms and legs underneath in Microsoft Paint, which I thought was quite amusing. And in the year 1998 on the internet, I'm sure lots of people found that absolutely hilarious, long before we did.
They would have laughed their free surf connections off.
Left their corn cobs off.
Ha ha!
Remove that corn cob before. Remove corn cobs before viewing Turn of the World.
He's the Jolly Quiz Giant.
Hey!
Ho ho ho!
Bambaboozler.
Green, red, yellow, blue giant.
Magenta. But not orange.
Cyan. Not yet.
We'll have to wait for level 2 for that.
We'll wait for tier 2.5 for those conditions to be right.
Tier 2 teletext.
He would actually be orange, though, wouldn't he? If that was a thing. He's very Tramponian, I think. Like a Tramponian Jeff Stelling.
I thought you were going to say David Dickinson.
David Dickinson. All right, old Chinas, me old Barney Sumners.
Cheap as teletext chips.
Is he Australian as well?
I'm going to rip these people off. Everyone's Australian, unless they're Welsh.
Right, mate, I'm Australian and Welsh as well.
Right. So
Yagi da!
Arnold Schwarzenegger appears as the Worminator
Oh, heck. Here we go for 10 minutes.
No, don't worry. I'm not going to do it.
I am.
Do you want me to do it?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Turn of the Worm, 1996, 0405, y'all. I cannot allow that, y'all. Oh no, it's the Worminator. We're all doomed. Automatic finds that hilarious. He's laughing there in the bottom right corner.
He's got a cheeky grin.
And just on that point, there's a wonderful edition, a Christmas edition of Turn of the Worm, where they meet RoboCop, or a RoboCop ripoff. And one of the frames in that shows RoboCop's point of view, and you can see that it's all red, and it has the text on the screen, "Must eliminate Turn of the Worm," or something like that, which I thought was a great use of teletext, a particularly good use.
Turner.
Yeah, I think he does say something like that. Mr. Turn of the Screw. No.
Profits before penance.
Yes. Do you want to read this?
Yeah.
There's only 2 pages.
Yes. Okay. So 8:30 a.m. Monday morning, Turner is in at his weekly meeting with the new governor. I was surprised to see Tinderbox Taylor in the crowd in the Windsor Castle fire. Isn't he supposed to be in a maximum security job creation scheme for the building of trade, sir?
Yes, a fantastic impression of Turn of the Screw.
Was he
Who
Australian?
was, well, yes, Aussie, of course. And you might be able to tell from these frames here that he is a dodgy prison guard, drawn in vaguely Viz-like style and saying a lot of rude words.
Profits before penance.
Profits before penance.
But the rude words were absolutely fine, since this was only shown at night time. And as we know, the concept was scrapped after only a few months, and we have a little clip of Mr. Biffo talking about this here from the Blocktober party in April.
I've seen on some of the After Dark things on the Teletext, in the early days, they had a cartoon called Turn of the Screw.
Ah, yes.
Was that anything to do with you?
I did the artwork for it. They got in a guy who, I don't know who he was, but he claimed to have written for Viz. But when they did some digging, I mean, Viz seemed to sort of disown him. So I don't know if he'd done... This is what he was bought. Do you know what? This is really weird. I've just realised I had a dream last night about Teletext's first editor, John Holm. That's weird. How very odd. I must have known I was coming on it. But it was John, funnily enough, that brought him on, with this big fanfare that, this is, we're going to become Viz on the TV. This man wrote for Viz. So he wrote them for a while. I mean, I don't think they lasted beyond the end of After Dark disappearing, but I did all the artwork, which I love doing. I tried to do it in a kind of Viz style. And at one point, I think there was discussions about trying to get Viz characters. I think that's how Turn of the Screw came about, was because Teletext, this guy had written some Roger Melly, the Man on the Telly, and Fat Slag's strips for Teletext, which I actually illustrated. I mean, they've been lost to the ether. But when they contacted Viz about getting the rights, Viz didn't want to know, and this guy didn't seem to quite have the connections that perhaps we were led to believe. That's all my memory of Turn of the Screw.
It's a good memory, actually. Do you remember anything else about After Hours?
I remember doing the doing the homepage for it, which with the kind of city with the reflection in the water. I love doing that. That was something I did quite often because putting full stops as lights in the windows and things. That was always fun. Beyond that, I mean, other than the reasons why it finally got cancelled, I didn't have a lot to do with it.
Okay, so yeah, that was Biffo talking earlier this year, and I think that sums it up quite well about how they had a dodgy writer, or they thought he was a dodgy writer, and not long after that, the After Hours service was canned. Allegedly, because someone on one of the regional services forgot to switch back to the kids section in time for breakfast. And those tuning in got much more than they bargained for. Instead of Turn of the Worm, they got, different types of worms, I suppose, but I think we better
Yeah,
move
no
on
safety
a
catch
little
in
bit.
those days.
Less salubrious worms.
Yeah. So we're going to
Always a
move
bit
on
high
from...
risk.
Any more Turn of the Screw comments?
Yeah, who's the so the governor? I'm just trying to see. He looks like the guy out of MasterChef, doesn't he? Or what is it they do now?
Oh,
The,
yeah.
It's him, innit? Oh, inside the factory, him. We're going inside the factory.
Yes,
I've
it
gone
is
through
him,
the
isn't it?
factory.
Oh,
I mean, I've just
Greg
gone through
Wallace.
the door. The door's behind me. Let's speak to that person about the door I've just come through. What do you do here? Do you make doors? No, we make biscuits. Oh, there's a door there. He's from Australia.
I think we've lost Carl again.
Oh, dear. Excellent. Excellent. That was a fantastic radio script as well, because you wonderfully detailed everything that was going on in the clip for people listening.
When he visits the biscuit factory and goes through the door.
Just that bit. Guys, you can tune into BBC One to see the rest of that show, and indeed a full series in that vein.
And
I'm
that
eating a
spoon.
biscuit.
And I'm having a cup of tea with it, and the tea's in the mug. And there's a spoon, it looks like a shovel. It's like a shovel for drinks.
What's this? Why, it's a biscuit. Oh, yes. Do I put this in my mouth? Yes, you certainly do. And we have
Do you
lots
make
more
these in
biscuits.
the factory? Or did you bring this one in yourself?
It takes about 10 years to explain that they actually make biscuits at the factory. Because
So where'd you make cheese then?
at the cheese
What,
factory.
you don't make cheese in this factory?
No, that's
I like
next
cheese.
door.
I like them in my sandwiches. Do you make bread? He's from Australia.
The cheese sandwich factory. That episode you can look up. So, back to Turn of the Worm. Turn of the Worm was not really a digitizer character, though he did make many guest appearances on that section. For example, in this face-off against the Man for a caption competition in 1993. So, this caption competition is still open. We would like you guys to post your captions in the chat. We'll leave this up for a couple of minutes so you can digest it. And then we want to hear your fantastic captions. I have a couple of comments, though, about this artwork while people are getting those. Turner's pupils are dilated, indicating he's probably eaten more of that black pudding from the nuclear waste.
Too much fizzy pop.
Yes, of course. That's what caused him to be sick in the first place, isn't it?
Yep.
Was he drinking R whites?
He's a secret lemonade drinker.
Elvis Costello's dad, don't you know?
Yeah. So, is somebody monitoring?
Separated eyes there. That's
Oh, yeah.
a bit unusual.
Actually,
He's got
hold
a
on.
mischievous look.
Yeah, that's from 93, so he would have the separated eyes.
We've got
Well-
Tom's been commenting, and Andy Ugly Fruit has been.
Yeah,
but
it's all
no
happening on
caption.
Twitch instead.
It's all
Right.
happening on Twitcho, El Twitcho, yes. And
Is that Australian?
El Twitcho? No, it's Spanish.
El Twitcho, mate.
El Twitcho, 2 beers, El Twitcho.
Well, I have a caption for this. God blimey, mate! Where'd you get that cheesemonger?
Is this where they make the biscuits?
A cheesemonger with a billabonga on it.
I haven't seen a Willy Wonka like that since I was back in Mirakaloo.
Sarah Burgess says, I can't think of captions while I'm still laughing at your Greg Wallace impersonations.
Who's doing Greg Wallace? He's in the room with me. All right, Greg. Oh, what are you doing? What's that typewriter thing? What's that typewriter thing connected to that television? It's a computer. Oh, what do you do with that then? How's that work? Electricity. What's that?
What are you doing with that stick with a carrot on the end of it? When I'm pointing my finger at you and wearing my pink beret.
Yes, Greg
Getting a
Wallace
bit of
all
a
over your
sooty vibe
Twitch.
from that stick.
Yes.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah,
Did-a-dun.
Sooty
That means-
abomination.
That did-a-dun means you've won.
No,
What
it
does he
means-
win, Carl?
It means I've paid £11.06 to Screwfix Direct Limited. Which I'll have
What's-
to update you on later, because that's what else I'm doing today.
Is that something Teletext related?
No, Greg Wallace is going to come and chase in a wire into my bathroom wall for me.
Right, so any more caption competitions? We can come back to this. We've got a few more slides. I'll try and move this on a little bit quicker because we've got to come towards...
The producer's in my ear.
Yeah, the producer... I'm being told... No, I'm being told... Right, we'll try and finish the rest of this presentation in
Right.
15 minutes and then move on to any comments that people might have. Q&A, that sort of nonsense. So we're going to move on to the end of Turn of the Worm slowly. In Teletext's later years, episodes of Turn of the Worm were repeated. Biffo, who took a pay cut as part of big changes to the service in 2001, basically stopped making new Turner comics after this point. And here it is from the horse's mouth, a quote from Biffo. "One thing I did do was start recycling Turn of the Worm. I'd had almost a decade of making stories stored up. The kids who'd read the earlier installments were unlikely to still be reading, and most of the original Teletext staff had moved on. Nobody would notice. And if they were going to pay me less, I sure as hell wasn't going to do more work than was absolutely necessary." So that was Biffo's comment. The last original comic to be shown was entitled Turner Meets Harry Trotter. But the next comic, shown in June 2002, was The Car Boot Sale of Doom, a repeat from 1997. Biffo left Teletext for good in 2003, a couple of years later, but the comics were so popular that they were repeated until 2005. Turn of the Worm at the Earth's Core, which you're seeing here, was the final Turner to be shown, albeit not in its entirety. Turner and Glug cut into the story before it was complete. However, because this comic was originally broadcast in September 2001, the ending had already been shown. Now, Alistair, who's in the room over there, posted this picture, first of all, I think a couple of years ago, and he said, "Thanks to a friend keeping a copy of a Channel 4 Teletext file I sent him, and then lost the original many years ago, I now have it back, and converted from the obscure format it was in. The date is 2005, 11/07, so that's 7th of November 2005, which was the week before the kids section was killed off, sadly. Here's the Turn of the Worm story that was interrupted and hacked up to announce that the section was being closed down." So one of the graphic artists has found a previous image of Turner there and copy-pasted him in. You can see he has exactly the same expression as Glug, and used that to say goodbye for good.
He's copied his mouth straight over, isn't he? It's
Yeah.
pixel. It's exactly the same pixel.
Yeah, I wonder who did the graphics for Teletext at this point, because Biffo was long gone, and also Steve Horsley was long gone by this point as well. So it's neither of our good friends who we've had on this podcast. Oh, sorry, on this stream.
They've done a good job. It's sort of...
The giveaway is the black the borders round. It's really crude, and they've not smoothed out the curves and so on.
Yes. Yeah, it looks like a less experienced effort, Alistair. Yeah, definitely.
So around about that time, I think it was Tim Bisley, or no, Tom41, I believe, brought up some graphics from 2009 when Teletext had closed down. The placeholder graphics that they had to say, Teletext has now moved. And there was a quite striking Channel 4 logo on there in monochrome. It wasn't a cultured Channel 4, it wasn't drawn in. I think it was just copy and pasted in. You could see that there were some sort of inconsistencies in the picture. It wasn't exactly crafted perfectly. But that reminds me a little bit of this picture that we have here. So I wonder if it was the same artist.
The clapperboard looks a little bit sort of telephoned in, doesn't it?
Yeah. The hand looks a little bit like an
Looks like one
amorphous
of my
blob.
efforts, really. It looks like one of my efforts, and he's left enough of the border to leave the previous encoding in there. So yeah, I think he's done that.
I think it's passable, but it reminds me a little bit of... Note, Poochie was killed on his way home to his own planet.
Turns out he was dead.
Turns out it was Turn of the Worm. Right. So, it's what you've been waiting for, guys. And what you know Turner most for. Turner's most infamous appearance of all came right at the end of the final edition of Digitizer in 2003. Biffo had given Teletext 4 months warning that he was going to leave. But that doesn't necessarily mean that he'd been planning a grandiose exit. So according to Biffo, the graphic that you see on screen currently was, much like most of his creations, created at a moment's notice, without too much thought. Biffo says, I was later told that there'd been a brief discussion between the sub-editors about whether to allow the worm to err. The final decision rested with the chief sub, who cleared it. As far as I know, Teletext never got any complaints. Oh. So, we're not going to talk much about Turner's actual ailments, because I think we mentioned that earlier, that caused him to vomit the milk. But, cover your ears, kids. Your eyes. In January 2018, our friend Simon, maybe Simon Rawls, I'm not sure, wrote in to Mr. Biffo to ask him what happened to Turner. It's a worm, it's a worm. Those are his arms. Those are his arms. So yeah, I'm going to read this. It's the cliffhanger we've waited years to resolve. We know that the real Turner the Worm was sick. But what happened next? Did he get better? Did he go to hospital? And Biffo responded with a new drawing of the real Turner the Worm. A drawing. A nude drawing of Turner licking up his recently vomited breakfast. Marvellous. So, does anybody have any comments relating to Turner being sick?
Well, I think you've kind of missed the point of having the Teletext After Dark session already.
What are you talking about? That's a worm.
Okay.
It's a worm, and I know it's a bit disgusting that he's licking up the sick there, but he's certainly a worm. You can see the arms there. Are we getting away with this? I mean, Biffo got away with it, so...
Well, I was just
Greg Wallace
thinking,
in a worm factory.
does anyone remember the short-lived fizzy milk drinks you could get?
No.
What, the Turn of the Worm ones?
They probably tasted about as pleasant. It was...
Was it called Squirt?
It was called Poop.
Yes.
Sorry, that's an in-joke. Turn of the Worm was permeated by these slides, these explosions, etc., that just said poop in the middle. And we've uncovered 3 of them so far. But Biffo liked to use the word poop for explosions.
Poop.
The poop explosion. Well, the chief sub passed that, so I guess our chief sub has passed this for 11:30 a.m. It's a worm! It's a puppet!
That's definitely milk.
Certainly.
No crying over spilt milk.
Nah. Moving on.
Sorry, I've located the fizzy milk. Tango
What?
Strange Soda.
It's a real thing. I thought you
It was
made it
an
up just now.
No, it's hard to forget tasting it once. It was an actual product. Tango Strange Soda. I think there were television ads where they pronounced it something like Tango Strange Soda.
Did it have milk in it?
Yes, it was a horrible idea, and it tasted like sour milk, but fizzy.
Fizzy UHT. That's got to be
Goodness
UHT to
sake.
be in a can. Oh dear.
So no wonder Turner was sick after trying that.
Greg Wallace in the fizzy milk factory.
Greg,
Where's the door?
explain fizzy
I'm
milk.
going out. I'm getting out this door. You can't pay me enough to stay in here. What's this stuff? What's this? Money? What would you do with money? All right, I'll do it.
Oh, mate, you came all the way to Australia to do this program, and now you're just leaving now, mate.
I thought I was in a Vegemite factory, mate.
In a Vegemite factory. Bowling, shine, bowling. So as fibre optic internet became more widely available, unfortunately the Teletext Kids section was finally retired in 2005, December 2005. However, another full edition of Turn of the Worm appeared on Teletext Final Edition as part of a retrospective in 2009. And yes, before you ask, that did include dinosaurs. And here are the boys again, slightly more cleaned up this time, saying their final goodbye in December 2009. Also, dinosaurs!
Happy dinosaurs.
Yeah, the infamous dinosaur picture in the top right there that we have to show at every block party by law. So yeah, that's the final edition of Turn of the Worm, part of a special omnibus, I guess, of a bunch of other stuff. The best slides, the best pictures and icons drawn on teletext. And there are loads more full editions of Turn of the Worm out there on domestic videotape, in attics up and down the country. Maybe your attic, ready to be discovered. We just need to find them. Let's go on to the final slides that we have here. So what next for Turner and his pals? Last they were seen was in April 2020, when Glug was hoarding toilet paper. Turner is still in possession of his famous arms, and in this frame, he takes the opportunity to brag about that fact. Poor Glug didn't have those arms. Now, Biffo has no plans for future Teletext content, Turner content, sorry. But you never know what might happen. Also, I believe that Alistair has a special announcement for you all, but I don't know if he wants to do that now or to wait for the very end of this.
I certainly can do. Big announcement is that the Turner archive have finally recovered enough pages to complete a couple of stories, so I figure it's time to make it public and publish it to the world.
That's
well
fantastic!
Done. Excellent.
Oh, I think that was worth the announcement. Wonderful.
Definitely.
So guys, you can now go out onto the wild, wild internet
Shall I
and
find
see.
the link?
Yep. Are we going to stick that in the Discord for
I
people?
can.
And also and the
Wiggly,
Twitch
wiggly,
chat?
Yeah.
Wow. Yes.
For people to visit at their own leisure and marvel at Biffo's wonderful creations over the years, or at least the ones that we've recovered. Steve Horsley says, "This makes me very happy, thank you," in regards to the archive. And I'm sure it makes lots and lots of people very happy indeed. I know I had a good time looking through that because I had a preview, so I could make this presentation. And I have to say, you could spend a couple of hours looking through all those pictures, marvelling at them.
They can't because only the completed stories are uploaded, Dan.
Well, I guess they could fill in the gaps in their mind.
Yeah. But as time goes on, we'll fill more in, and I'll tweet things out as well as new stories are completed and so on. We've got a few getting quite close now, so if people keep sending me teletext recoveries, I can keep restoring them. We'll slowly work our way through the years, filling them in.
Yeah, we have a wonderful team of dedicated teletext recoverers. They're in Discord if you want to join the Discord, if you're not in there already. And they post screenshots, etc., and sometimes even the services that they're recovering and cleaning up. So it's well worth a look, absolutely. So yeah, a wonderful resource, and it'll continue to grow as time passes. So please guys, if you do have VHS tapes, drop into Discord and I think ask before sending them to the recoverers, because they might say, "Oh, what are these, more tapes?" But I'm sure they'll gratefully accept your tapes, and we can get more Turners.
Sarah's asking what percentage has been recovered so far. I've got a a graph set up. If the page ever loads, I shall switch to it.
That's a graph if you're down south.
Yes. So I shall put that on
For
the
those
screen
watching down
now.
south, that's a graph.
This is all of the weeks
Oh wow!
through to 1999, and that's some of the early stories. So one of those, one of the Saga of Turn of the Worm, it's showing 100% complete there, but that's just because I don't know the end date, so ignore that one. But that's the percentage complete of each of the stories that I've got recoveries for through to 99.
Awesome
so you can see
Alistair.
we're filling them in.
There's a vacancy for you at Sage, I think.
Well, it is all in the spreadsheet, so.
Okay. Yep, so it's good to see that it's well organised and we can plot these things as we get them. And
Sorry.
You're on
stream. 3 missing. You got 3 or 4 missing there? What are they? That's what we're looking for, isn't it? Another cup. Yes, thanks, Mum. Cup of tea.
2 sugars for me, please.
Yeah, lovely.
Yeah, there's a few stories there that I've got at 0% because I've got this is the percentage complete of the restorations. So I've got some stories, some chapters that I know exist because I've got recoveries for them, but they're in terrible condition. So apart from knowing that they exist, that's all. That's all the information I have.
Greg
really.
Wallace in should be done, isn't it?
But
he can read the whole thing.
They'll turn up eventually.
How many different Turner stories do we currently have pages from?
Here's the weeks that I know. So probably Saga of Turn of the Worm is probably 6 episodes. Until I get one from that week, I won't know for sure. But I've filled them all in through the same deal for the Worminator. I don't know if it runs right up to Jurassic Park. Probably does.
Get to the fence in.
But here's all the weeks going through the years, and I'm ticking them off as I go to generate the graph. And my recoveries. This is all the tapes that the recoveries that people have sent me in. So there's a lot of them.
Right.
Pages and pages and pages of stuff. After 99, there's another 5 years after that, but I've not been concentrating on those because, like we say, most of them are repeats after Hairy Trotter, and also in 99, that's when Teletext Limited broke the page checksums. So after that, I've no checksums to check the pages against. So I'll get round to them eventually and restore them somehow or other, but that's lower priority than getting the early years done.
So do you suppose that there are loads and loads of Turner stories that we don't have any slides for yet? Any pages?
No, I think we're pretty well filled in up to 99 at least. We've got a big gap there in 96 up to Christmas 96. It's funny how there's gaps appear because sometimes I've got 2 or 3 recoveries from the same day even in some cases. The tapes seem to be bunched up. That's the nature of a random sample. You'll get gaps and places where you get multiple recoveries, but for the most part, I've got I know what stories were on all the way through to 99.
Could we maybe take a quick look now at the Turner archive on your screen? Tom Sonic 41. You have to use guesswork like I do. Depends what people like to record. What we really want for something like this, I think, because Turner was weekly, we would like to find some tapes that somebody recorded the same program at the same time every week on Channel 4.
Yeah. The recent recoveries I've had from Tom have been like that. The tapes he's got, the Welsh tapes. So that's been really good for getting one from the same time every week over several weeks.
Okay. So thanks very much to Tom, actually. A huge shout out to him. He's been working tirelessly for maybe a couple of years on Teletext recovery now. And the amount of stuff he's dug up is absolutely immense.
Here's an interesting example of the automatic page number insertion. It's gone wrong here and just put it over the top of the text.
Still perfectly readable, isn't it? It's amazing. It's yeah.
Are we going to do the Christmas quiz then? There's no way we could do it. The Turner Christmas quiz on the next page.
You want a bigger mug of tea, mate?
Tom says, yeah, lots of Babylon 5. Someone obviously recorded the series religiously. So that's what we want, I think. What else? Countdown? Maybe somebody taped Countdown every day.
Well, I then pretended they ruled at it. They just played it when their wife got back and said, "Do you fancy watching Countdown?" And they pretended it was live and they had to get all the 9-letter words.
What's that VHS wrinkle in the corner? Nothing.
I was just thinking, does that mean that Babylon 5, which was created with an Amiga, is that what's going to save Mr. Biffo's work in the long term?
Oh, I haven't seen Babylon 1 yet.
Yeah, if it wasn't for the Amiga, all of this would be lost to time then.
Oh, yeah. The Amiga holds the final wielding sword of Damocles.
We need to get Biffo on and interrogate him about that.
What was Babylon 5 anyway? Was it like a spin-off of something like Star Trek?
Don't know the details. Do remember the writer, Michael J. Straczynski.
Don't mention him, he'll appear.
He's in the comments right now.
Well, it's okay. I liked his work on the Real Ghostbusters, even if he was quite rude to Chris about later, so it kind of balances out.
Oh, we'll have to ask Chris about that, I think. That's interesting. It sounds like a story. Guys, tune in later when we might have the completion of that story.
Did anyone watch V or Alienation when it was on? They were meant to be good, but I never did watch them.
Well, we have to press reveal for the answer to that call, I think. Or go to Big Sexy Lumpy Digitizer.
I like that page. That's lovely. Glug's birthday. Happy birthday to Glug. Happy birthday to Glug. Happy birthday, dear Glug. Happy birthday to Glug.
Happy birthday to Glug.
Yes, Lord, I wonder what the date is today. It's the 12th, Glug. Look at your calendar. The 12th? But it can't be. That would mean that today is my birthday. I can't believe I forgot.
12.
Turner, wake up! What? Do you know what day it is today? It's my birthday. I bet you've forgotten. Oh.
Turner swimming in milk there.
Your
That's his cat.
birthday. How could I have forgotten? Let me make it up for you. Whatever you do, make it decent, you sniveling little ingrat. I've never seen Glug so angry. I'll give him a birthday he'll never forget. I'll throw him a party.
Why does he sound so angry?
I'm in the
Woke
moment.
up on the wrong side of the bed.
Crackpot Explorer requires gullible young assistant to help in a hunt for the poor Medusa. Salary poor. What's Medusa? Jokes. Animal and sharks. Zine. Hello. I've come about the job. Ah, perfect, my boy. Pleased to meet you, lad.
Are we going to do the whole thing?
Apparently.
Jump shores if you want it. You can't. You want it? Do you? Of course you do. Come on board, son.
Suit you, sir. Oh.
Oh heck, there's eight chapters of this. I don't think we need all of it.
Yeah.
Come on, boy. Help me with these boxes. Boat leaves at dusk. Boat. Yes, we're Medusa to catch the evil sticky Medusa.
Is Greg Wallace not in this story?
I think it's Frank Welker now.
Is he Australian? Right,
He's
I think
from
that's
Australia.
enough. I think that has killed the Australian joke. And
I want
Yeah,
Carl
so-
to read this slide, though.
Okay. Dirty Medusa, we shall crush it into the ground and wipe it from the face of the earth. Nash, bubble. Help! More next week. Jokes, Animal Man.
Not
Shouts.
much difference, really, was there?
You know, I wish Carl was there when I was watching the original Turn of the Worms, narrating them for me. Oh, that would be wonderful.
What? They're just the voices in my head. Doesn't everyone have those voices in their head?
The voices in your head are escaping. Oh, Tom wants to get into the voice chat. Can we get him in?
Why are you bothering to hurt toilet paper, Glug? You don't even have arms to use it.
Meh. I don't even poo. I just don't want anyone else to have it.
We just put a load of slug pellets down to destroy him. So,
Oh, maybe
thank
that's
you
what he does.
guys.
Slug pellets. That's what he does. Slug pellets. That's what he needs a toilet roll for.
Hello.
Can the stream hear me?
Yeah, you're live now.
Yes, we can hear you.
Welcome aboard.
So yeah, I'm Tom41 and I recovered quite a few of these things. I didn't do actually any recoveries. It was ZX Guesser who did the hard work.
So,
All I
what
did was
exactly
recover the tapes.
Right. So, what did that entail? How did you hack these up?
My doorbell. Back in a minute.
Okay. How did you get
Well,
these?
Well, I bought a huge box of tapes off eBay from somebody in Wales. And I went through and discovered what was on them. Quite a lot of S4C. And I simply captured the S4C teletext, ran a deconvolve, which is essentially turning the video file into a teletext file, and sent the recovered files to you guys.
Okay. So you got them originally, but they were sort of cleaned up
The
by
original
the
files, yeah.
community.
When they
So
come
it
off
was
the
a
tape, they're not perfect.
Right. I can understand that. So it was a Discord team effort to
Yes.
bring them to this sort of quality.
And there was somebody else who is dealing with the digitizer recoveries.
Oh yeah. Can we name him? Does he want to be named?
That's Tim, who's recovered a lot of the turners and digitizers as well.
He's-
Basically, they've all been sending their recoveries into me, and
Ah.
to clean up the pages.
Right.
I've been sending stuff to Tim, and he sent it on to Alistair.
So it passes through many hands. It's good, a good form of quality control, I think.
Yeah, well, Tim is doing the digitizer, and Alistair's doing the turners.
Tim has been cleaning up some editions of magazine for me for an article I'm currently doing. Or maybe, you never know, at the next Blockdown party, we could do another presentation about magazine. I don't think magazine was as popular, but there are some funny things in the history of the section.
Maybe we'll have a vaccine by then, and I'll be able to attend in person.
Yeah. It would be good if we could physically meet up somewhere, probably Cambridge. But
Well, I'm up in
hopefully, yeah.
Yorkshire, so Cambridge is quite far away.
A vaccine.
Well, we can do it. We could do it in Leeds, couldn't we? I guess we could. If we can find somebody in Leeds that would host it.
That's the thing. You could say, "Oh, we could do it somewhere, so and so," but you need to find somebody to organise it.
Let's do it in the Shetlands.
Do it in Wigan again, and then you can be in charge.
On the moon.
Oh,
Low
but we-
transmission rate there at the moment.
So yeah, thank you very much for watching this presentation. If you have any more questions for the guys here, please do post them. We'll endeavour to answer them in the next 10 minutes. Does anybody actually in voice chat have a question or anything they'd like to bring up regarding Turner? No!
I have a question in the meantime. I do have a
Awkward
question.
silence.
Go ahead,
Question
David.
for Carl. Who was at the door then?
Oh, that was
Greg Wallace?
the post. No, it was a postman. Unfortunately, nothing signed. A bank statement and a ZX Spectrum ROM that I only ordered yesterday. How about that? Gosh. What about Ask Greg Wallace? Is there an Ask Greg Wallace section? What's the question? I don't know. Let's go to the question factory. I've just gone through this door. What's this door doing here?
I have a
Greg Wallace,
question.
but what's the question?
I have a question, but it's not for Greg Wallace. It's for the expert panel about Turner. Is it true that most, if not every, Turner story includes dinosaurs, sir?
No.
Is it?
Because it
A
seems
few
that
of them
Is it just that the particular dinosaur grabs get posted a lot, and we think that, oh, every Turner story has dinos in them?
There's Dinosaur Planet story from 2000 and something. It's a very long story. It's weeks and weeks and weeks long. Most of them are only 6 or 7 episodes long. Some
Then Star
longer,
Fox
some shorter.
Adventures halfway through.
In the later years, the stories were very long stories.
Right.
So that might explain why you see so many dinosaur ones turn up.
I've got 2 Twitter respondents to the Caption competition.
Go ahead, yes.
Earlier on, the Teletext R podcast tweeted out the Caption competition. And we have 2 respondents. I don't know if they're actually watching, whether it's like a separate thing going on. But it was kindly retweeted by Paul, I'm locked out of my other account, Rose. So we managed to get a little bit of exposure on it. So the first one is from Flux in the Fabric of Reality, and he's replied to Teletext R saying, Evil General, it seems the worm has certainly turned. So that gets a like. Very good, and I've retweeted that.
Yeah, I love that.
And the next one is from Samuel H. Diamond, Rainbow Flag, #BLM. I don't understand your costume, Turner. I'm sick as a dog and sick as carrots in it. It's quite good, actually. I like that. So that gets a retweet. Marvellous. That's really good. I'll put a little thumbs up there. Retweets. So, yes, it's working. And Flux in the Flux in the Fabric of Reality, Marsh, has liked 2 of my tweets. So that's the end of the Twitter roundup. And back over to you in the studio.
In the studio. The man is saying, where did you get those arms? Or he could say...
from the army.
Oh, do you mean Turner? Didn't you see the first story where he got his arms?
Yeah, but I don't think the man with the long chin read the story. So he didn't know.
It's a carrot and stick approach, obviously.
Yes. Oh, that should win. Oh, that should win.
Go home, everyone. Go on. I've won the car.
You win a purple orange. Or magenta orange it was, wasn't it?
A cyan orange.
Cayenne.
Yes, I do want some portraits of Victor Cayenne later on, please, for anybody. Because I'd like one for my own personal...
Junkie Text is still open for viewer submissions.
I've got another set of tapes that have just finished deconvolving. I'm going to have a look at them in a bit after lunch to see if they've got any turners or digitizers and things on them.
Excellent.
You may have some more.
How many tapes do you go through, I guess, per week or per month?
Oh, about I'd say about 50 tapes a month. Something like that. Okay, not all of them that have text on them. Some of them don't have text. So, of course, they get thrown out.
So, I was going to ask, actually, Tom. It's Carl here. Hello. I was just wondering, so when you've done what you need to do with the tapes, what do you do with them?
Well, they usually just go straight to the bin. No further use. Once I've got all the text off them.
Yeah.
He makes a wonderful sculpture of the Eiffel Tower out of them in his back garden. Is it a difficult process to recover the teletext from the tape? I mean, to initially dig it up from the tape prior to.
Well, first of all, I have to go
cleaning.
through and catalogue what's on the tapes. I have to see whether they've got text on. I do that with a second video recorder where I can deliberately roll the picture and see if it's got text in the VBI or not. Then I go to the computer, see what's on it, and finally I just do a 20-minute capture of the text and set it deconvolving overnight. Wake up in the morning to a bunch of text files.
What better way is there to wake up in the morning than to that?
Than to teletext, yeah, just like we used to do in the 80s and 90s.
Well,
So
unless you get things like segfax or oraclo, which are I shouldn't get to the. I had a really bad one, but I don't want to say it because I'm going to get. And I'm in the Yorkshire region, and it said ITV your beep. Yeah, the
I think we'll have to
R
wait.
change into a T.
After
We'll
8
have
o'clock.
to wait till the midnight hour for that.
It was a rogue broadcast from Lancashire.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
the R changed into a T. But
We sent it over
we sent
We've
it over
upset enough
to
viewers already, I think, and it's only
yeah.
11 o'clock. So
Have this teletext page.
Yeah, have
It's
that.
Have this disgusting teletext page.
It's got leads in it.
What was that? Scottish or Australian?
That was Australian.
Once I've got all the decent text off the tapes, I mean, if you guys want to take the tapes off me, you're more than welcome. But I don't see why
you're
you would
fine.
if I've already got the text off them.
Oh, it depends what's on them, I guess. If it's got things
just
of the
didn't know if they
blue
could be-
persuasion, I'll take them off you.
I just didn't know if they'd be like recycled or shredded or something like that. But I guess
But just
that's.
pour them into a skip and then they put them in this giant crusher. But if I do find a home movie or something, I rub it with a neodymium magnet to get rid of all the recordings before I bin it, just in case.
Ah,
considerate.
that's good
Very
of you.
considerate. Yes.
If I was throwing away any of my home movies, I don't plan to. I would definitely wipe the tape.
Yeah, because you don't know where some of these things might end up in the future.
Yeah, someone might get them, someone might play them.
Yeah, so sometimes they get recycled and reused.
It's annoying when I come across tapes that have been spliced and are sticky.
Oh,
It's
right.
Turn of the Worm finished one, wasn't it?
That's interesting. So people manually splice the VHS tapes.
I
Yeah,
sliced
when
tapes.
it snaps, they splice it together and get it to play again.
Did
If
you
the
do
splice
that?
goes through the heads, it can really damage.
Yeah,
What's
it's,
that? Just
So I've
with
got a
normal
canary
sellotape?
VCR.
No, you get a
Yeah.
home splicing kit. Then you can get a like a clamp. Because I used to do it for audio cassettes when I used to get chewed up. You put it in a clamp, cut it with a Stanley blade, and then you get this tiny little tape to put on the back. Unclamp it and put it back in. But I guess it would just be a bit bigger on the on the VHS side.
Yeah. The problem is, well, I have a canary VCR, as I call it, a clapped out old one, that I don't mind playing spliced tape. The heads are so trashed on it anyway, it's difficult to get a picture out. And I use that to fast forward and rewind and see if there's any splices before I put them in the good one.
I see. It's like your medical bot. It performs all the dirty work for you. Ah, brilliant.
Absolutely fantastic.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
That's good.
Right, okay. So, guys, thank you very,
We kind
very,
of
very
derailed here in the
much.
conversation, but
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. I think
That's
we've
fine.
I think we were
covered
done with
everything.
Turner anyway now.
Yeah, I think we've covered everything with regards to Tana. And it was good to have a little 10-minute chat about tape recovery there. If you want to know more about that, we've got
Yeah,
another
tomorrow.
panel tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. 25th,
Yep, starting at 10.
10 a.m. Same place as here. Please
10
do
o'clock
tune
decimal
in.
time. New money time. Not
Yep, and
old money
we'll-
time. New money time.
Yes,
yeah,
because
this
of
is
course,
that's going to confuse the hell out of me, isn't it?
the
Yeah,
clocks are
what's
going
that?
back, aren't they?
Is it full forwards and spring upwards? I think.
Spring-
I think we
Extra
get
hour
an
in
extra hour.
Spring around and fall about.
Sounds
I think it's
Australian.
about
Spring forward.
All
Yeah.
blacks, spring box.
That's a good way to remember it, isn't it? I'll
That
forget
day
it.
is
Just one last thing I want to say about the text recovery. It does not matter what the program on the tape is, as long as it's got decent text. I mean, it can be rugby, it can be a movie, it can be a TV series, it can be anything, even news. And you can get teletext off it.
I only
I guess-
have one tape with teletext on it. It's the young ones. I recorded all the BBC Two young ones when they broadcast in the late 80s. Would that be good for you? But it's on a long player, I think. So it's an
No.
Well,
18
even on long play, you can get something out of it. Long play is less good than standard play, but you can still get stuff out of it.
All right.
Quite a lot of these Babylon 5s are on long play.
Don't do it. Don't do it. BBC Two teletext is boring.
Yes, I'm wondering if it'd be the boring years one or would it be the interesting years one? Because it was a rerun of
You mean the
young
John
ones.
Major years?
Yes, it would be
Yes.
the blue years.
The at-speed, in-depth era.
Yes,
yeah.
in depth rubbish.
Which we all remember and love. And by love, we mean
Hate.
tolerated.
We all mean.
I like
Did
that
find the
era
book
because
you-
that's the era with the level 2 tests.
Ah,
So that's my
I did find the
favourite.
Bucky O'Hare lyrics on one of my tapes.
Bucky O'Hare
CFAX
lyrics.
actually typed out the Bucky O'Hare lyrics one time, and I remember
His
looking
name
at
is
that very
Bucky.
page.
Don't crocus, no toad.
That very
Tom, are you
page back in '92.
going to
Yeah?
be with us tomorrow morning by any chance?
Probably.
Fantastic. I guess we can
Excellent.
ask you all about these things. That sounds
Yeah.
very interesting, actually.
Oh, subtitles. You sometimes get subtitle on the tapes, but of course with subtitles you only got one shot at recovering it. Not like the other pages that are broadcast over and over again.
And guys, you can find out much more about that tomorrow morning. But for now, we are going to take our scheduled break. We're going to go for some lunch. So,
Yep.
cheers, Tom.
Oh.
Tom has just left the voice chat, but thank you very much for joining
Thank
us
you.
just now. It was good,
Thank you, Tom.
fantastic
Yeah.
to speak to you. Sorry we couldn't go into more depth about it, but we'll save that for the
That's
actual
what Sunday's
thing tomorrow.
for. Yeah, that's what Sunday's for. It's
so,
as long as we
just a-
like after lunch on the intricate technicalities.
Keep
But we had
Sunday
20
special.
views for a spreadsheet earlier, so it's hard to know what people want really.
More spreadsheets, guys, all day,
Spreadsheet-
just teletext
spreadsheet Phil.
spreadsheets.
It's spreadsheet Phil.
The
Probably
spreadsheet
some highly
stream.
paid consultants trying to work out how to do Excel and tracking and tracing. Getting some tips in there.
Let's
Oh,
not
yeah.
mention that.
Yeah, that's tier 2.5 teletext we're talking about there.
Right, so fantastic. This has technically been an episode of Teletext R, a visual edition, shall we say. So thank you very much for listening to the presentation / podcast. I don't know if this would work as an audio podcast, but we'll see about that. But
Oh,
I guess
it will with Greg Wallace alone.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But
What's audio? I wanted to find out. It's
Greg,
a bit
it's
of a noise thing.
it's a thing that touches your ears.
It makes your ears vibrate. What are ears? I don't know. We went to the ear factory.
I now have 3 ears thanks to my visit.
That's
to them.
incredible. I've got one each on the side of my heads.
Left ear, right ear, and a final front ear.
Oh, indeed. What's he doing in the toilet? Captain's log.
And a pirate ear.
Well, I do hope that Greg will be rejoining us for the After Dark slot to explain exactly what's going on for the harder viewing.
I hope he could, but it does depend on the other things that he has lined up today. So no promises made there.
Okay, well hopefully he can, and he's available. And also more Australian jokes. I think I'm going to have to get a bell, aren't I? Whenever anybody mentions Australians or Greg Wallace, I just ring it, and we have to change the subject immediately. Sarah Burgess, thank you for watching. She says, thank you for the laughs, guys.
Oh, thank you, Sarah.
Yeah. And Angelica Jakes just popped in just as we're signing off for the morning.
Yes.
Oh.
He's just joined in time for the break. Have a nice break, Jellica.
Jellica, do you want to join us for chat later? Voice chat, perhaps?
Yeah, take over from me, Jellica.
Well, we'll be looking at your work on chunky text along with the rest.
Yeah, Jellica, you can mark your own homework.
Superb. 2 o'clock, 2 p.m. we're back, but until then, do we have anything that we want to cover before we leave?
Well, I'd just like to say thank you to Dan, Carl, and especially Alistair, who's been tying this all
Yes.
together seamlessly.
Oh, yes, of course. Cheers, Alistair. Not just for your
Mission control.
contributions. Yeah, not just for your contributions, but today Alistair is literally sitting at a control desk and controlling all the audio-visual stuff for us.
He's
So-
the Teletext glue. He is the glue that's
Yes.
holding this whole thing together, and it's been really good to watch on the screen as well. So excellent. Hats off to Alistair. Alistair
the Andy
Crane
Crane
man.
of Blocktober.
Andy Crane. Yes. Yeah, he's a broom cupboard.
It is a bit of a broom cupboard, to be honest.
Yeah, can we have a picture of you again? Go on, let's have a picture of you in the corner there, quickly.
Is this going on stream?
Yeah. But you have a picture of him, but do you have a little furry mascot? Where's Gordon the gopher?
I've got Shaun the sheep
Yeah,
sure.
there was Shaun the sheep and Will.
and Feathers
As long as we don't
McGraw
get
as
a
well,
copyright strike for that.
out of some sort of breakfast cereal about
Gosh.
25 years ago.
Oh, that's one of them. Yes.
Oh no!
Got in the bin,
I actually heard their demise before I saw it.
balancing back on the shelf.
Bet you couldn't do that again.
Oh, go on. Can you just do the link to Neighbours before, just to finish it?
Well, I can do that. Will that do?
And now on BBC One, Neighbours.
With
And now on
special
BBC
guest
One,
Greg
time
Wallace.
for me to go for my lunch.
Excellent.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye
Thank
now.
you.
Brilliant.
Applause.
Cheers, guys.
Bye.
Excellent.
Cheers.
Bye.